Okay. Let me be the first to say that I don't think men understand what respect is. And men may say, I don't understand what it means to love you. So let me just say that. Now, I think I don't disrespect my husband. And here's my reasons why, and while we're watching this video, because I don't fuss at him, I don't yell at him, I don't call him out of his name, I don't be embarrassed in public, I don't belittle him. And so I think as a wife, sometimes that's what disrespect means. And so I'm going to learn today, and we've watched this before, ladies, and we've learned too, there's some things that we do that might appear to be disrespectful. So as we're going to talk about these couples issues first, husbands, be ready to tell us how we disrespect you and how we cannot disrespect you, because I don't think most women, that is our goal. Hopefully, ladies, I can say that. That is not our goal to disrespect you. Our goal is to say some things, but not in a disrespectful way. So let's get back to this couple. What are some of the issues that this couple was having? Because I think, as I said before, I think that helps us get on this crazy cycle. So anybody want to go first? What were some of the issues or problems that this couple was having? Somebody give me one of them, please.
Lack of communication.
Lack of communication, and we all experience lack of communication. Anybody else? Something on this couple's was experiencing?
No quality time.
No quality time. Okay.
The
And
wife
what? How,
didn't, I'm
go on.
sorry. The
Go on.
wife didn't feel loved by the husband. She even felt belittled and disrespected. And in return, she would be disrespectful to him.
Okay. Somebody want to put something in the chat. If you want to, lack of communication or quality time, wife didn't feel loved by the husband. Any other problems or situations this couple was facing?
The mother was in the relationship.
The mother-in-law, his mother, right?
Yeah,
So her
his
mother,
mother. She
his
allowed
mother.
he allowed his mother to be a part of their relationship.
Okay, that's a whole nother lesson in conversation. But thank you, James. That's right. Anybody else? Some of the issues in their relationship.
There was a lack of intimacy.
Lack of intimacy. Okay. Thank you. Lack of intimacy. Anybody else? Any other issues in this relationship?
He was working too much.
He was working too much. He is working too much. He had a lot of hours. He had what I call a high stress job. And a lot of us, not only husbands and wives today, a lot of us have very high stress jobs. And so that can be also put us in a crazy cycle. Anybody, there were a couple other things. Anybody else? Any other things they were having in the relationship?
Felt like he didn't care. She just felt like he didn't care.
She felt like he didn't care. Okay. Thank you. Lack of understanding. Working too much. Linda, you were going to say something?
She started accusing him, even though she was accusing him as the wife being the other woman, but she was accusing him.
He was accusing him. All right. There was something the wife did, you all. Come on, ladies. We had to see that. What was the issue in this relationship?
She was disrespectful to her husband. She belittled him and said he wasn't man enough and things of that sort.
Right. She retorted to belittling him and saying he wasn't man enough. And that we know can borderline, or that we know is disrespectful. All right. Anything else that I might say before we get into other things? Any other thing, anything I might have missed in here a couple was facing? I think one of the things I saw that a lot happens for a lot of us, some of us sometimes, and Thomas and I've experienced this, so I'm not saying something haven't. Sometimes we're just coexisting. We're going through the moment, the motion, moving the children around. We're like we're roommates and not husband and wife. She said they were coexisting, just doing things. And sometimes, and all of the things, not communication, not spending, all those things, not spending time with one another, can put us in that cycle of just coexisting with one another. And I think that was important. Just trying to live together. And so I wanted to make sure we look at some issues, because I think that when we stop with them problems, we can kind of see how we get on this crazy cycle. So let's talk about, how did the wife feel, or why did the wife feel unloved?
I believe, good morning, everybody. I believe she felt unloved because she was not getting his attention. She was not getting the time that she need that he should have been giving her due to his work. And I believe that that really caused her frustration, because she wasn't getting that quality time that she needed.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? How did she feel unloved?
Hi, good morning. I think she felt unloved because she said he was a mama's boy, and his mama stepped in and he got everything. He would ask his mama for things.
You know, I just wrote these notes. I said, why do you think he allowed his mother to step in? And you kind of said that, but why do you think he allowed his mother to step in? Or why, men, do we allow our mothers to step in?
I th- I think that he allowed his mom to step in because the wife was constantly criticizing him, and his mom was attentive to his needs at that moment.
Right.
So he felt that his mom was giving him the attention that his wife was not, and because she would constantly criticize him, he felt more appreciated and love from his mom because she was on his side.
Wow. That's a lot. Thank you, Takesha. That's right. That's one reason why I believe his mom has stepped in. Anybody else have any comments on that subject about his mother stepping in? He also said his mother was a very strong, opinionated woman. And I know with my daughter-in-law and my son-in-law, I've had to bite my lip for many a day, because you know, the mother and the father want to say a whole lot, especially when it's our children, that they too have to make their way and figure it out. I learned early on in my marriage, I couldn't tell my mom everything. My mom would just kind of know by looking at me, but I knew my mom would get in and pick my side because she's my mom, but she knew how to love me. Not that she's my wife or my husband, but
Yes.
so any other comments on that one before we move on? Okay. All right. So let's get any other reasons why she felt unloved, because I want to get to the disrespect part.
She didn't feel like she was getting the help she needed with the kids. Like she seemed like it was all on her.
Yes. Thank you. And someone put in the chat, and when he said divorce, she really felt unloved. Like we have resorted to this. Okay. All right. Any other comments about the feeling of love? Because this is the last time to speak up, because we're going to respect and disrespect. Okay. So how did she disrespect her husband?
Good morning, everybody. One of the ways that she disrespected her husband by using that sarcasm to communicate her feelings instead of actually having a honest communication, but she used sarcasm.
Thank you, Cece. Somebody put in the chat sarcasm. Women, we can be sarcastic. So, so let's stay over. So, Cece, why do you think sometimes women are sarcastic instead of using the honest communication or saying it? Why do you think we do that?
I do think that one of the things, they're angry, right? Being at a space of being angry and upset, and sometimes not knowing how to communicate with the spouse at that particular moment. Maybe feeling like if I say that, this is going to get him to understand me, where it actually pushes him further back.
Yeah.
So
I
sometimes
think we use sarcasm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we use sarcasm to show our hurt feelings.
To share the hurt feelings, exactly.
Right. Okay. Any other comment on our sarcasm before we move forward?
Hey, happy Sunday, guys. I was just thinking about when she said that the job was like a second wife. I thought that was very sarcastic.
Okay. I remember when we had what was before the iPhone? What used to work, the little work thing used to have. Can't think of it now. It's been so old.
The Blackberry. Blackberry.
Blackberry. I always
Oh.
told Thomas had 5 wives. And we used to name up that Blackberry. I said, you put it in her hand, you hold on to her, you go take her to bed, you talk to her. Whenever she responds, you're always answering her. But when I said that, what was I really saying?
You ain't holding me like
That's she, the other woman, and you. I wish you touch me and talk to me and respond every time I say something.
Right. I'm not getting that attention that I need. Hey, what about me?
Any comments, fellas? Okay, we got a husband on the call. Any comment? Y'all feel it's y'all day to say something to us now about how do we feel, how can we respect our husbands or disrespect? And so I would say that jokingly enough, Thomas, but I'd say it often enough. And I guess you're right. That was my way of saying I felt that way. Thomas, any comments about when I said that to you?
Well, not so much about when you said that to me, but I think that categorically that as a man, don't play games with me. Say what you want to say. Don't play games. Sarcasm is not so much for me from someone else about your hurt feelings. It's about you trying to hurt my feelings in a sadistic way. And so it's not pretty. And I think that I think that most women will say that men are logical. We want to shoot straight. So shoot straight with us. I'd rather you tell me what's going on or what's not going on versus you going around the back door. Most women can be very direct with most other people. So why can't you just be direct? And direct doesn't mean the fact that you have to be nasty. You can come to a man or a person and just tell them what's going on. But when you play the game, then it means the fact that men can play games too. So if you want to play the game, let's play the tennis. Let's go back and forth. And then guess what? You go have a match, you go have a set, and you go have, sometimes, the ball's going to go completely out the park. So I just think that sarcasm is not something that works well for men. Say what you mean.
All right. Anybody else want to respond to that?
Yeah, Patrice, I wanted to say that with sarcasm, it's intentional. And I think that makes a difference. When you disrespect a man and you didn't purposely want to, then it's kind of not like I was aware that it was disrespectful to you. But with sarcasm, it is with an intent. And I think that that's what makes the difference, is that it's purposely done to do what it does. And that's what takes us out of the range of really trying to work something out, because at that point, we're just fighting back.
Thank you, Veronica. Right, sarcasm. That was a really good comment. Yeah, sarcasm. Any other comments on the sarcasm or just the way we communicate as women?
I got one. Like she was saying, it's intentional, but women destroy us with words. We might destroy things physically, but women destroy us with words. We still destroy it. You didn't say what you said and left it alone, but I'm still hurt because you said directly and said, all I said was, I didn't mean it, but you already and destroyed me with the words, and I'm still there.
Okay.
And I think that, just bouncing back off what you said, when that destruction that happened with the words, men have egos. And when those words destroy them, you have destroyed their ego. And most times it's hard to come back from that. It's hard for a man to say, okay, she said it. She said she really didn't mean it, but she said it and I'm hurt by it. And yeah, that can be something to come back from. You want to chime in, husband?
No, not now.
I'm gonna get your turn in a minute. Okay, let me stop for Go on, CC.
I'm sorry. I just have a question. In thinking that because sarcasm could go both ways too, but at that point, right? If the sarcasm is going forth, what is the underlying issue, right? And what is my spouse saying? Or each one of us are saying. So if that is true, how do we get to it? How do we communicate? Because we know there's something there. Why is it that we just can't deal with it and move on?
Anybody want to comment or?
This is
Uh,
Kazaya. I'm wondering when she said to her husband, "Oh, your job is your other wife," or when maybe you got sarcastic with Thomas. I'm wondering, by the time you said that, or the lady said that to her husband, how many times you went to your husband directly and told them, "Hey, I'm missing you. The BlackBerry is your girl now," or the BlackBerry gets more time than me. How many times did she go to her husband and say, "Hey, I'm home with the kids and your mom, and it seems like you're spending so much time," and he continued to do it?
Right.
Now you're sarcastic with
Mhm.
him to think, let me try another approach.
What you say, Darren? Can you say it again?
You know what I'm saying? I think we probably need to look at the video or deeper in that, because in some instances, what if they never had the root cause conversation? Internally, she might have been feeling like, I never get enough time with him. But how she explained that and displayed that was always sarcasm, or saying, go to your mom, and get it from your mother, instead of just coming right out and saying, hey, I'm not getting enough of you.
I have to agree with Kasaya a little bit. I think that I just want to believe, and this is just to be naive of me. Most women, my goal, some women are just sharp tongued. Let me just say that. My goal is not to be sarcastic, but if I said to you several different ways, hey, I miss you, hey, I need time with you, hey, and I think that sarcasm sometimes is the last resort, or I've just had enough. You know how your cup gets full and it's full here, and so bam, the sarcasm comes. So I want to believe that's not our goal when we get there. They didn't get to the problem, which you're indicating, Darren, but I think that at the point is that he didn't hear me the couple of times I said it in the better way or the nicer way before it got to this point. However, it's all about lack of communication. Any other comments, or how was the husband disrespected?
And then I also think too, what it appears to be sarcasm, could it be an example? You're just trying to give an example, of what you may need or want, after saying it so many different times, like you stated, Patrice, of having that conversation and it's still existing. So let me try this. Let me use an example. And it could be coming off sarcasm, but that might not even be the intent.
Okay.
I was going to mention too, Patrice, that it's normally a carryover. It's a carryover because there was no closure. So when you say it goes up and up and up, that's because it's a carryover from something else that was never resolved. So when there's no closure, and it's constantly no closure, no closure, no closure, then sarcasm comes out.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all.
Darren,
Go on, Thomas.
well, Darren, you said going back to the video. And so if you go back to the video, the gentleman said that he felt that all he was doing was working to make provisions for the family. I don't think that the video was clear enough. I don't know if she worked outside the home or not. But what he thought that he was doing was that is his role as the house husband, and it may be cultural within that culture, because I think that you got to take that into account too, because that maybe there are certain things that maybe she's not to work outside the household, so to provide the income, because we don't know how many kids they had. He felt as though that he was doing his part to be able to do all the necessary work, whether or not it's 12 hours, 18 hours, to do whatever was necessary. But then I think at the same time, he probably didn't feel as though that he was being appreciated. I'm probably just reading into that. But I think that if you go back to the video, he makes it very clear that he thought that what he was doing was honorable for the family, was making provisions, not trying to ignore and not spend time with his spouse.
Great
I
point,
just
Thomas.
wanted to
Hey
say
guys.
something about sarcasm and going forth. Something that I learned. A lot of times, as women, like it was previously stated, we can be very vicious with our tongue, and we use it to display or give out the same pain that we have received or that we feel like we're receiving from our husband. But one thing I learned is that when you replace sarcasm with vulnerability, and then let God do the rest. So I'm gonna give you an example. Um, if your husband is doing whatever these things, I apologize, I missed the video, so I'm kind of piggybacking off of the things that you guys are saying. But when the husband is doing offensive things, instead of lashing out and saying, "Well, hey, you're doing this, and I hate this, and blah blah blah," just let him know, baby, this is what's hurting me. No matter what his response is, because a lot of times when we talk to our husbands, maybe there's a nonverbal response that's very offensive. Maybe it looks like he's not receiving it by his facial expressions or whatever. But when we just say these things, because the Bible says, with loving kindness have I drawn you. And that is our responsibility as women to stick with that. No matter the response we get, no matter the attitude we get, God is calling us to respond with loving kindness. And after we respond God's way, we then at that point have to let God do the rest. And I'm a living witness that he'll do it. He'll deal with the husband. He will go before you when you're having these situations. Step back and say a prayer, because God is the creator of your husband. And so ultimately, he is the one that can deal with him in a greater way that you cannot. He can get through to your man. So after you speak to him with loving kindness, give that situation to God. Tell God, Lord, he acting a plumb fool. But guess what? I need you to go and deal with him. And I promise you, it might take a couple of hours. It might take a couple of days, but that husband is going to come back in a humble way. Because a lot of times in marriage, we forget the threesome. It's you, your husband, and
And
God.
God,
And
thank you.
that is so important.
Thank you so much. That was great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, listen, husbands, I know y'all are on here and we need to know, does your wife disrespect you? You don't have to answer that question because she's here, but teach us how to respect you. What does, we have to know what disrespect looks like. We talked about it. We know it's our tongues. And how can we respect our husbands better? Because I know we already doing it, right, ladies? But what you want us to know about disrespect or how to respect you. So let's hear from the fellas. We need to learn how to do that. Do it better.
Patrice, disrespect for me is when, and I've told my wife this, when she doesn't, I can give her some advice and she tells me, don't use the word never, but I'm getting ready to use it right now. She never takes my advice. I really believe that's how I feel. So real quick, um, uh, she was working and doing some work. She was shredding papers, paying bills, doing a lot of stuff, and she had a lot of stuff around her. So I had a couple of days before I had borrowed $50 from her because I needed some cash. And so she asked me, she said, well, when you pay me back, give me a $50 bill, because she had given me tens and fives and 20. So when I stopped by the bank, because I very seldom carry cash. So I went to the bank, got a $50 bill, brought it home. Stop shaking your head. So uh, when I brought the $50 bills to her, she said, set it right here on the couch. All this clutter was on the couch. So I said, wouldn't it be better? I said, let me set it up here on the dresser. No, set it right here on the couch. So I set it there on the couch. What, maybe a half an hour later, Dennis, I can't find the $50 bill. Did you shred it? I don't know. She spent the whole day looking for this $50 bill and she still hasn't found it. If you took my advice, the $50 bill would be sitting up on the counter. Now she's a $50 short person. And my disrespect is when she doesn't take. I don't expect her to take all of my advice, but I when she gives me some advice, I will listen to it. I do listen to it. There's some that I've taken her advice, sometimes I've not. But I feel that she never takes my advice, and that is disrespectful to me. That she doesn't even really. I feel as if she doesn't consider it. So that's what disrespect is for me.
Well, someone put in the chat, respect is my wife taking my advice sometime or taking my advice. Eunice, you want to say anything on behalf of that?
Well, I will say I do. On occasion, I do take his advice. He may not see it, and because he doesn't see it, he doesn't believe it. But sometimes I have his tapes in my head, and I say, well, let me do this. I don't go back and say, oh, guess what? I did what you suggested. No, I don't. I don't. I don't. But the $50 was for my own madness and what I needed to do. And I got discombobulated.
But I can when see she Eunice is a good cook and there but I have some advice in cooking. I'm not the best cook, but I've watched my mother and enough people cooking, and I can come in and say, Eunice, you got that fire up a little bit too high, and then next thing you know, hey Eunice, this food is burning, and that's all I get. That's all I got to say.
Too many cooks spoils the meal.
That's all I got to say. That's all I got to say.
My thing to you, Eunice, is when you take his advice, say just thank you. Or remind, you know what, I went to the bank yesterday, I went to the whatever. Thank you for that advice. It's just a matter of letting him know that you did hear him. All right,
I do let him hear him, but I think what it is for him, he doesn't see it. I say thank you, but when he doesn't see it, he takes to heart that I just dismissed it because it's not instant. One of the good examples is the difference in paring knives. I have my favorite knives. He wants me to use according to whatever. I don't feel comfortable with those knives, but because I don't do that, I'm being disrespectful, but I'm cooking.
Wait a minute. We have an array of knives. You have a slicer. You have a bread cooker. You have a paring knife. She takes this one
favorite knife.
and it's so my point is, why do they make all those knives? They have a purpose.
But let me say this on her behalf, Dennis. I peel potatoes and I have to have a certain knife to peel potatoes. And I can't explain it to you other than I grew up with this kind of concept of how I do it. And it's just in my hand. If I don't have a certain knife, I have a hard time peeling potatoes. And I get it. She hadn't cut herself, let her handle her knives. But let's move forward.
Okay.
One of the things
That's
that I
good.
want, I think that Erica, you said the word, and I want to make sure that we have a clear understanding of this. I hear probably most times that women will say that men have an ego. Everyone has an ego. I think that women unmistakably try to say that that's just something that's gender specific. Everyone has an ego. That's just a part of psychology. That's the way that we're made up. But I think that women will say that their ego is their feelings, okay? Which in fact, it's the same thing for a man. So if you hurt my feelings as a man, you refer to it as my ego. When we hurt your feelings, we hurt your feelings, but it's the same. So I do want you to know that we're not feeling less. We have feelings as well. So when we're bruised, we bruise. When you're bruised, you're bruised. And I think that the young lady who said it earlier, vulnerability, is that when a man is vulnerable to be able to say what's on his mind, then he doesn't say a lot. But when he says what he says, that's a point of vulnerability. Not saying the fact that it's gospel, but when a man says something out of his mouth, generally he means it as well too. So I think I said a little bit too much extra there. So sorry about that.
No, I mean, I don't want to hear from another man, but I don't, it's another whole conversation. I think that I hear when the lady is respectful and I heard the sarcasm and I hear that men's feelings, I hear all that, but I think a man could call me, and this is taken way out of context. Could say, could call me out of my name, and you want me to say I'm sorry and forgive you, though that's unloving to me. But if I say that you acting like a little boy, then you're bruised for like 3 weeks. And I think that we have to understand that a husband can say hurt words like a wife can say hurt words, and the healing is different for everybody. But that so she feels unloved and you feel disrespected, and we understand that the healing process, and we both have to work at this concept of sarcasm in our communication styles. I may have said too much too, so I'm not sure.
I wanted to, Ms. Henderson, I bet like looked up the word reverence, and it is the true meaning, the biblical definition of reverence is the profound respect and love. When you have a reverent attitude toward God, you honor him, express your gratitude to him, and obey his commandments. You should be reverent in your behavior as well as your attitude. And then they said the true meaning of reverence is a feeling of deep respect or awe, like what you have for a president, a hero, or a favorite football player. Reverence can be a feeling of awe, and it can also describe how you treat someone, particularly when used with the word with. To treat someone with reverence is to show them intense respect. And so I think the thing when we look at that, sometimes men or women feel like, all right, we don't disrespect you, we're respecting you. But when you have, when it says intense or deep, that means it's more active, right? It's a behavior where we should feel it. Like that's the gratitude. Like, yeah, like we're looking for you to say thank you. We're looking for you to express, oh, baby, how you doing? Like I cannot help, right? So sometimes when you feel that, oh, it's the absence of something, I'm showing it, like that's not the definition. That's not what men are looking for. And it's difficult for us to express that. But when we feel respected, it's when you have that reverence, when it showed the deep respect and love. And that's something that our heart feel it, not like that there's an absence of well, I do it in silence. No, we need to feel it and see it in your actions and your attitude. And that's just something I wanted to just put out there.
Fantastic. Great. Any comments? Somebody put that in the chat. He said a whole lot. That was good stuff for my young couple. Husbands, how can we respect you? That was great. That was great. Mr. Posey, that was great. Not only show it, but in our actions, and they have to feel it. Okay. So husbands, we want to hear from you. How can we respect you more or get better at what we are not doing or better at what we are doing?
Well, I honestly just think some of it, especially in our household, is just patience. You know, we already go through stressful days, just like you said, and we think about some of the things that go on, and I think part of it is the patience part. You know, on both parts. You know, when we presenting something as men, you know, we want that quick response, and that might not be the case. But at the same time, on the other side of the fence, there has to be patience as well and understanding. Sometimes we react too fast and too soon, and then that's when you get the results you get. So.
Thank you very much, Greg. Thank you very much. Any other husband? Go on.
Question: how can you be patient without nagging or trying to encourage something that you've asked for or something that you suggested that hasn't been done? So you're patient, waiting on them to do it on their own, but then it's not getting done, or they're not doing anything different or changing.
Perfect question.
Well, most people are their own individuals. At the same time, when you met each other, you kind of already knew what you were dealing with when you met them. So some people take longer, some people learn faster, some people learn slower. You know, it's all in understanding in your mate and who you're with. At the same time, depending how much you love them, and depending what to the degree it is. I mean, if somebody you feel is not listening to something that you feel is supposed to be done that way, then you got to let God handle that. You know, that's a part of the patience part. If you're praying about the right things, then you know God will take care of it. But at the same time, it's all in where your patience is at. We're dealing with that, and I'm not saying that you're not gonna lose patience. We all lose patience, you know. But it's able to come back to the table and recognize, you know, where we lost it at and how do we get it back. That's all.
Thank you very much, Greg. Any comments or any other suggestions for men of how we can love you? I mean, how we can respect you?
I think that only because that what DJ said, that was powerful. I think it because it's a part of a recording. I think that that's something that needs to go back to and listen to again. He used the word reverence, and that's basically what the Bible makes reference to when it's saying respecting a husband. But I think that, and I know I may be going way out here on a limb, but if God is using that same in his word, it's saying the fact that a woman is supposed to revere her husband. She's to reverence her husband. And so if we are to reverence God, and I think if we think about our own relationship, how we are with God, that when God doesn't show up, you know, when we think that he is, we still love him. When God doesn't do what we think that he should do for us at that given time, we still love him. And when he does do something, that we thank him for that. And I think that, so I'm not throwing in my own personal, that's not me personally. That's kind of like going back to what DJ was saying, as well as the word. So I think that if women help to understand the word reverence better, doesn't mean that you're trying to turn us into your pastor or anything like that. But it says, are you giving the reverence and revering your husband as God had intended the marital relationship to be?
I thank you for that, Thomas. I think Ephesians says, wives, respect your husbands. And I've taught this before in a workshop, as unto the Lord. And as wives, as DJ put it, as Thomas said, we respect the Lord. And so sometimes our husbands have to, even though they may not do the right thing or say the right thing, we have to respect them, like we say, as unto the Lord. So your respect is really about your relationship with God. How you respect your husband, this is going to be hurt a little out. It sometimes shows your worship to God and how much you honor God. As the scripture says, respect us as unto the Lord. And you can't say, well, he ain't doing his part. That's not what the Bible says. And so we have to make sure as we honor God, we are honoring our husbands and we reverence and respecting our husbands, because the scripture says, wives, respect your husbands as unto the Lord. He's given us a role model to say, as Thomas said, when God doesn't do whatever he didn't want us to do, or whatever we prayed, and because God is sovereign, too wise to make a mistake, we have to make sure we are reverencing our husband, and the role model is aligned as unto the Lord. Can the Lord look down and say, you're honoring him? And I think that, oh, you're reverencing him and you're respecting him. And I think that's when God gets in line, or that's when God can then bless our relationship. And watch this, as a wife would say, fix our husbands, or God is then in line to work with our husbands and make whatever's going on in our lives better or more loving. Any more comments? We've got about 5 to 6 more minutes.
You're on mute.
So, wives, what are we going to do different to respect our husbands? And let's just, if they're not going to talk to us, let's talk to them.
I think just piggybacking off what you said, Patrice, just remembering and just thinking about your relationship with God. Because would you treat God the way you treat your husband? That's all I got to say. I'm going to drop the pen and my mic drop on that.
That's good, Erica. All right, come on, ladies. I know you got some comments.
Okay, I guess I could
Guys.
say good morning, everybody. I like the fact that when I point a finger, when I'm seeing something that he's not doing, I have to always remember that it's me, it's me, it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. It's me. It's not my husband. It's me, to keep looking at what I need to do to reverence him and to be the godly wife that I'm called to be. So that's my share.
Hi, guys. I think what happens a lot of times is we have unrealistic expectations. We brought some expectations into the marriage. We saw how um, dad treated mom or mom treated dad. We picked up some of the good and the bad. But I think about what the word of God says. It's women, we just are lovers by nature. We love, and that comes to us naturally. It's the God wouldn't have specifically said for us to reverence our husbands if we didn't need to work on that. A lot of times what happens is we'll say things like, oh, he should know that, she should know that. But why should they if it was never spoken? I think a lot of times we just expect for people to understand um, without speaking it. Some things have to be spoken. I mean, and then sometimes we change. We probably used to like fried chicken. Now we no longer like fried chicken. We like baked chicken. So you have to let your specifics be made known to one another.
Thank you, Helen. Any other comments?
I have one. I believe that was Erica, the last young lady that spoke about would you speak to God that way? It just that was a ouch moment, and it also made me think because I know my tongue can be really dangerous at times when I speak to my husband. So it just gives me something to think about before I even open my mouth. What will I say so I won't hurt God or defend God or disrespect God? So I have to be careful what I say before I open my mouth, before I speak, because I don't want to disrespect God in any kind of way when I'm speaking to my husband.
And you know what, to piggyback on what you said, truth be told, when you disrespect your husband, you are disrespecting God, because God put him as the head. And so if you are disrespecting your husband in whatever way that is happening, be it through sarcasm, be it just, not treating him the way that you would treat God, you are disrespecting God. And your prayers, will not be answered. You have to fall in line. Even though when we don't like what's going on, we may not like how he is treating us as a wife, we have to do our part. And our part is not to discipline our husband. He is not our child. So we have to let God deal with him and do what we're supposed to be doing. It's kind of like when you're on your job, as a teacher, I may have a coworker that's not doing this, that, and whatnot. I cannot discipline her or him and say, hey, you need to do this, this, and this. I gotta make sure I'm doing my part, and I let the head of that school handle the individual that's not doing their part.
Thank you, Erica. Very good. Any other comments? We got one more minute, and I'm going to close this out in prayer, or Darren's going to close this out in prayer. Great session on today. Right. This is great about respect. I think that my goal of today or this week is that we all speak better with our mouths and watch our words with our husbands, including myself, because I think if I don't curse you, then I speak well of you, and I don't call you your mama's boy, but I do with sarcasm, and all of us can watch how we cut or whatever we do with our words. Let me say this on behalf of Nikki and Nikisha and Greg, house burned in the fire. So they were on today. Greg and Keisha. So let's keep them in your prayers. And I always said, if you need anything from us, Greg and Keisha, we are here for you guys. And so they lost her house this weekend of fire. And I think she was home in the bed. It started outside. So we thank God for your safety and how he's protected you. And all night, all day, angels keep watch over us. Amen. Next week we got a couple more weeks on this crazy cycle. And listen, we want you all to want to hear you guys. We want to speak up. We want men to let us know. We want to learn how to reverence and how to respect our husbands. I think all of us do. And I know husbands want to learn how to love their wives better. All right, Darren and Erica, or any other comments before I close out? Before they pray.